There comes a moment in your life where silence becomes louder than shouting, where walking away screams strength louder than any argument. You see, strong people, truly strong people, don't just show up in the gym or in the spotlight. They show up in the storm. And when the world throws drama in their face, they don't flinch, they don't chase it, and they definitely don't feed it. They pause, they breathe, and then they choose peace over pride. If you've ever been dragged into someone else's chaos, you know what it feels like to be exhausted by noise that doesn't belong to you. But let me tell you something real. Your reaction to drama either feeds the fire or ends it. Mentally strong people don't react to drama like the world expects. They respond with dignity, discipline, and direction. They know that not every fight is worth fighting. Not every insult is worth answering, and not every person deserves access to your energy. Because strength isn't always about what you do. Sometimes it's about what you refuse to do. So if you're tired of being pulled into other people's storms, let me tell you how the strong survive and how the wise rise. Let me tell you something that will free your heart tonight. Not everything thrown at you is meant for you. Sometimes people lash out not because you hurt them, but because they're already hurting. You were just nearby when the storm inside them broke loose. And the problem is, when you're a caring soul, you absorb it. You wonder what you did wrong. You carry their chaos like it's your responsibility. But mentally strong people, they've learned the truth. You don't have to pick up every piece of someone else's brokenness. You can see pain, you can acknowledge it, you can even feel compassion for it, but that doesn't mean it's yours to solve. People will try to make you feel guilty for the wounds they won't heal. They'll throw blame like confetti, but the strong, they don't flinch. They look that emotional fire in the face and they say, I'm not your enemy. I'm not your fixer. I'm not your emotional punching bag. Because reacting to their drama doesn't heal them, it breaks you. And mentally strong people protect their peace like their life depends on it. Because it does. You ever been blamed for someone else's bad day? You ever felt the weight of someone's bitterness because they couldn't handle their own reality? That's what drama does. It's a transfer of pain. It's someone else trying to make their discomfort yours. And when you don't know who you are, when your identity is tied to being liked, accepted, or needed, you'll fall for that every single time. But mentally strong people have stepped out of that cycle. They don't take the bait. When someone tries to pull them into the whirlwind, they don't fight it. They don't dance with it. They observe it. They step back. They say to themselves, this isn't about me. This is about something inside them they haven't healed. You see, that level of emotional maturity doesn't come overnight. It comes from pain, from lessons, from being torn down until you finally learn to stand in your truth and not be shaken. Mentally strong people are not cold. They are clear. And clarity says, I will love you, but I will not let you destroy me while you avoid dealing with you. See, what we have to understand is that some people thrive on chaos. Drama is how they feel alive. It's their oxygen. And when they see peace in you, they feel threatened by it. So what do? They try to provoke you. They twist words, stir confusion, start arguments that don't need to exist. And if you're not rooted in who you are, you'll react. You'll fight back. You'll feel the need to defend, explain, or justify yourself. But mentally strong people, they don't enter that arena. They don't defend themselves to people committed to misunderstanding them. They don't let someone else's storm rewrite their day. Why? Because they understand that peace isn't passive, it's powerful. Choosing not to engage with nonsense doesn't make you weak. It means you've evolved. It means you've learned that some people don't want solutions, they want attention. And attention is energy. And energy is expensive. Strong people budget their energy. They don't spend it on cheap chaos when they're building something valuable inside. Now, don't get it twisted. Mentally strong people feel everything. They're not numb. They're not indifferent. But they've trained themselves to pause before they absorb. Just because someone's voice is loud doesn't mean their message is true. Just because someone's angry doesn't mean you're guilty. Strong people examine the emotional mess thrown at them and ask, is this really mine? Most of the time, the answer is no. But it takes courage to say that. It takes self-worth to say, I'm not available for your projections today. Because when you're constantly reacting, you lose control of your narrative. You start living based on someone else's triggers, not your own truth. Mentally strong people know their triggers and they don't hand them out freely. They've built emotional boundaries and they defend those boundaries like warriors. And when someone comes at them sideways, full of drama, they don't take it as an invitation, they take it as a test. And their strength is in their silence, their restraint, their refusal to stoop to that level. There's a reason the calmest person in the room usually holds the most power, because they're not moved by every gust of wind. They're rooted, grounded. Mentally strong people don't personalize the chaos because they've done the inner work. They've cried the tears. They've faced their own shadows. And when you've stared down your own darkness, other people's noise can't unnerve you. That's why you'll find them unbothered while the world around them is losing its mind. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. They've aligned themselves with truth, with purpose, with clarity. So even when someone lies on them, gossips about them, or tries to drag their name through the mud, they don't collapse. They rise. Because they know the moment you start defending your character to people who enjoy drama, you've already lost the battle. Strong people don't explain who they are. They show it through their peace, through their consistency, through their refusal to react to every opinion tossed their way. Let me speak to your spirit right now. You are not everyone's healer. You're not everyone's therapist, fixer, rescuer, or emotional trash can. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes the most courageous act is to not answer the phone, not reply to the text, not feed the fire. Because peace costs too much to be wasted on people who aren't ready to grow. And mentally strong people, they've learned that lesson. They've been burned before. They've tried to help people who only wanted to vent, not heal. They've sat in rooms where they were blamed for things they never caused, and eventually they said no more. Not out of anger, but out of wisdom. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You get to choose what energy you allow in your life. You get to decide who you listen to. And if someone is addicted to chaos, don't let them make you their supplier. Be the one who breaks that pattern. Every time you protect your peace, you reinforce your power. Every time you say no to drama, you say yes to your destiny. And mentally strong people are always choosing their future over temporary noise. They don't personalize every attack because they know the truth about people. Everyone is fighting a battle you can't see. And sometimes the chaos they bring isn't even about you. It's about their past, their trauma, their lack of control. But you've come too far to lose yourself now. So you breathe. You center yourself. You don't react. You don't retaliate. You stay rooted in your worth. Because you've seen what happens when you give away your peace just to win a moment. You lose yourself. And mentally strong people have learned that no fight, no argument, no insult is worth that. They've been there and they've decided, I will be kind, but I won't be controlled. I will love, but I will not be manipulated. I will stay calm, not because I'm weak, but because I finally know who I am. You see the difference between reacting and responding? That difference right there is the distance between chaos and clarity. When you react, you let your emotions control the steering wheel. But when you respond, you control the vehicle. There's a pause, a moment of power where you decide not just what to say, but who you are in that moment. Mentally strong people don't let situations dictate their character. They bring their character into every situation. And that means when someone pushes their buttons, they don't push back, they breathe. They slow down. They ask themselves, is this even worth my peace? Because not everything that upsets you deserves your voice. Not every moment of tension requires your explosion. Strength is not just about volume, it's about vision. Reacting might feel good in the moment, but it often brings damage you'll regret later. Responding, on the other hand, is about wisdom. It's about seeing beyond the fire, beyond the insult, beyond the moment, and choosing your future over your feelings. That's where power lives. And the mentally strong, they live there every single day. You ever snap at someone and later think, man, I wish I'd handled that better? That's the cost of reacting. It robs you of your dignity for a moment of dominance. But mentally strong people understand something that changes everything. Emotional control is the highest form of self-respect. When someone offends them, disrespects them, even outright lies to their face, they don't lash out. They don't take the bait. They respond with presence, with calm, with intention. Because they're not in the business of proving a point to people who are just trying to provoke them. They're not here to win arguments. They're here to win peace. When you're strong, you know how to pause. You know how to feel the heat rise in your chest and still choose to cool your words. That kind of strength is rare. It's forged in fire. It's not weakness, it's maturity. And it takes discipline to not match someone's chaos with chaos. The strong would rather lose the moment than lose themselves. There are folks out there who specialize in triggering people. That's how they test your character. They want to see if they can pull you out of your peace, get a rise out of you, make you act out of pocket. And the old you probably gave them what they wanted. You reacted, you exploded, and you let that moment steal your power. But not anymore. Not if you're growing, because mentally strong people have learned the art of silence in a loud world. They don't talk just to talk. They don't react to nonsense. They respond with truth or not at all. Because sometimes the best response is no response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away with your head high, your spirit intact, and your soul unshaken. That's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be explained. That's strength that's felt, that's presence. And in a world full of noise, the person who can remain still wins. You have to understand, reacting is easy. Anybody can do that. It takes zero discipline to yell, to throw shade, to fire off that angry message. But responding requires emotional intelligence. It means you've trained yourself to pause, to reflect, to choose your words the way a warrior chooses his next move, carefully, precisely, with purpose. Mentally strong people aren't robots. They feel everything, but they don't allow their feelings to run the show. They let truth lead, they let purpose lead, and they know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to confront and when to let go. That's what separates the wise from the reckless. Anyone can be triggered, but it takes a grown soul to look a trigger in the face and say, not today. I won't be moved by this. That's real power. That's the kind of strength that breaks generational patterns. And that's the kind of response that doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. Mentally strong people treat every emotional encounter like a test. They ask themselves, will I let this moment define me or refine me? Because responding isn't just about control, it's about direction. Every response is a seed you plant into the future. And the strong know that if you plant bitterness, you'll reap regret. If you plant peace, you'll reap purpose. So they slow down. They don't give people access to their emotions just because the situation demands it. They give access based on trust, not tension. When you live like that, people might think you're cold. They might say you don't care. But it's not that you don't care, it's that you care wisely. You've been through too much to let a petty comment or a temporary feeling pull you back into old patterns. So you pause, you reflect, and you respond with grace or not at all. Because your energy is sacred and your future is too important to be sidetracked by people who haven't mastered their own emotions. And don't let anyone shame you for walking away from drama. That's not weakness. That's wisdom in motion. Mentally strong people are not afraid to disengage. They don't need to clap back. They don't need to win the conversation because they've learned that every reaction costs you something. Peace, focus, time, joy. And they've decided it's just not worth it. So they choose the higher road. Not because it's easier, but because it's right. They've learned how to be still in storms. And that kind of stillness comes from confidence. Confidence in who you are. Confidence in where you're going. Confidence that not every fire needs your oxygen. Some things are meant to burn out on their own. Some conflicts don't deserve closure, they deserve distance. And the mentally strong know that silence can speak louder than any shouted word. Not everything needs a reply. Some things just need to be released. What's powerful about responding instead of reacting is that it builds your identity. Every time you choose your response over your rage, you shape the kind of person you're becoming. You tell your future, I'm ready for more. I can handle more. I'm not ruled by mood swings or impulsive anger. That's how you grow. That's how you rise. And that's how you earn peace that's unshakable. So next time someone tries to trigger you, remember, your silence isn't weakness, it's a message. Your pause isn't fear, it's wisdom. And your calm, that's your crown. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. The strongest people walk through fire without ever raising their voice. Not because they're not burning inside, but because they've learned to master the flame. And that right there, that kind of strength will take you further than any reaction ever could. There comes a point when you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Mentally strong people recognize that moment. They don't stay where they're not respected. They don't argue in circles. They don't keep watering dead plants hoping they'll bloom. When peace is no longer possible. When all that's left is chaos, manipulation, and cycles that repeat without growth. They get up and walk out, not in bitterness, but in boldness, not because they don't care, but because they've learned to care for themselves first. You can only extend grace for so long before it becomes self-destruction. Strong people choose sanity over sympathy. They know when a door isn't just closed, it's locked, and they stop banging on it. Some situations are not about fixing, they're about freeing. And the freedom begins the moment you choose peace over people who only know how to bring pain. That walk-away moment isn't weakness, it's sacred. It's a declaration that says, I am no longer available for disrespect. I am no longer participating in my own suffering. That's power. That's clarity. And that's the strength most people are too afraid to choose. When mentally strong people walk away, they don't slam the door. They just stop knocking. They've learned that peace doesn't live in noise, and healing doesn't come from repeating harm. You can love someone and still leave them. You can forgive them and still let them go. That's a level of strength that most don't understand. Because the world teaches us to hold on, to fight harder, to endure toxicity in the name of loyalty. But mentally strong people have rewritten that narrative. They know that loyalty to others should never cost betrayal to self. And when the conversation becomes a war zone, when the atmosphere turns heavy, when every exchange leaves wounds instead of wisdom, they choose silence over survival mode. They understand that walking away is not quitting, it's graduating. You've learned the lesson, you've seen the pattern, and now it's time to rise. Rise from the ashes. Rise from the noise. Rise from the pressure to fix what was never yours to fix. Because peace doesn't beg, peace doesn't plead, peace walks, and the strong walk with it. It's not that they don't feel the weight of walking away. Oh, they do. They feel it in their bones, in the silence, in the nights that come afterward. But strength isn't about feeling less. It's about choosing better. And the mentally strong have lived enough, cried enough, hurt enough to know when something is stealing more than it's giving. They've sat in rooms full of noise and realized that no matter how loud it gets, some people still won't hear you. They've given chance after chance only to be handed the same pain in different packaging. So now they protect their energy like it's treasure. Because it is. You only get so much time, so much strength, so much soul, and you can't keep giving it to people who treat your heart like it's disposable. Walking away isn't selfish, it's sacred self-preservation. It's saying, I choose to no longer participate in my own heartbreak. It's saying my peace matters more than this performance. That kind of decision shakes worlds, and mentally strong people are world shakers. You see, people will call you cold when you finally stop entertaining chaos. They'll say you changed. They'll say you gave up. But what they won't admit is how they pushed you there, how they confused your silence with weakness, your kindness with permission, your patience with passivity. Mentally strong people understand that peace doesn't always come from mending relationships. Sometimes it comes from mourning them and moving forward. They've learned that healing is not found in trying again with people who won't change. Healing begins with detachment, with saying, this is no longer my burden to carry, with walking away, not because you're angry, but because you're alive and you want to stay that way. So when the peace disappears and the drama becomes the norm, they remove themselves from the equation. They don't scream, they don't curse, they don't throw a scene, they just leave quietly, fully, because peace is not a place you wait to find, it's a choice you make. And when you stop choosing peace for yourself, the world will never offer it to you freely. You want to know something real? It takes more courage to walk away than to stay. Staying feels familiar. Even pain can feel like home when it's all you've known. But mentally strong people aren't interested in familiar pain. They want new peace. They want to know what it feels like to breathe without anxiety, to wake up without tension, to live without walking on eggshells. They're done sacrificing their mental health for the sake of someone else's comfort. They're done explaining their worth to people who've made it clear they'll never see it, and so they leave. They leave conversations, jobs, relationships, and rooms that refuse to grow, not out of hate, but out of hope. Hope that better is possible. Hope that healing exists beyond the noise. Hope that walking away isn't the end, but the beginning of something holy. And when they walk, they don't look back. Because once you taste peace after chaos, you never go hungry for drama again. The strong have scars. They've stayed too long before. They've tried to fix what was never theirs to fix. They've bent themselves backwards trying to make things work. But the lesson life teaches, sometimes painfully, is that not everyone deserves access to your spirit. Not everyone deserves your effort. And peace requires boundaries. It demands distance. The mentally strong have mastered the art of quiet exits. They don't argue. They don't convince. They don't explain. They simply leave. Because they understand that protecting their inner world is more important than winning the outer war. They know that when your peace is constantly at war with your surroundings, you're not living, you're surviving. And that's no way to live. So they make the hard choice. They pack their peace and move on. No announcement, no drama. Just purpose, just protection. And in that silence, they regain everything the noise tried to steal: clarity, confidence, courage. And when they walk away, they don't walk with bitterness in their step. They walk with wisdom because they've seen what staying costs. They've seen what happens when you keep hoping people will change instead of changing your direction. They've lived the cycle of drama and they've decided to break it for themselves, for their future, for the version of them that deserves calm, respect, and stability. And when people ask them why they walked away, they don't even need to answer. The peace on their face says it all. The glow in their spirit speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Walking away isn't defeat, it's divine direction. And the mentally strong, they follow that direction no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Because they finally understood, peace isn't something you find in others. It's something you fight for within yourself. And once you've fought for it, you'll never again stay where it's missing. When you look at mentally strong people, you're not just seeing resilience, you're seeing wisdom carved from pain, growth born through silence, and clarity shaped by chaos they chose not to engage with. They don't dive into every storm that passes through their life. They don't make themselves prisoners of someone else's emotional mess. They don't let drama define their decisions, and they certainly don't personalize every bit of chaos that tries to provoke them. Instead, they choose peace over and over again. Not because they're weak, but because they know their worth. They've learned that you can't be available for everything and still expect to have anything left for yourself. Strong people don't react on impulse, they respond with intention. They hold their ground, breathe through the fire, and refuse to be puppets to someone else's moods. They understand that emotional control isn't about bottling things up. It's about channeling them towards something higher. They choose their battles with care, and most of the time they choose not to battle at all. That's strength. That's discipline. That's self-respect. And when peace disappears, when communication turns into chaos, when love turns into war, they don't stay stuck trying to fix what's already broken beyond repair. They walk away, not with rage, but with resolve. Not with hatred, but with healing in their heart. They don't chase closure, they create it. And they keep moving forward, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. They don't seek revenge, they seek peace. And in doing so, they rise. Not above others, but above the noise. They rise above the need to be right, to be heard, to be validated by the wrong people. That's what mental strength really is. It's rising quietly when everything around you is trying to pull you down. So let this be your reminder. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Walk away when you need to. Stay silent when it serves your soul. And respond to life like someone who's been through fire but came out pure. You owe it to yourself to live above the drama, not within it. Thank you for your time. Keep walking in strength, keep choosing peace, and as always, God bless you.